she smile, she laugh, she'll tell you everything is fine. But deep down, there's something else, something she wants but will never ask for. Not because she's playing games, not because she enjoys keeping secrets, but because the moment she has to explain it, the magic dies. I'm going to tell you something most men will never understand. Women don't want you to read their mind. They want you to read their body, their energy, the space between their words. Because desire lives in that space. And if you need a manual to find it, you've already lost. Carl Jung said we all wear masks. He called it the persona. The face we show the world, the acceptable version of ourselves. But beneath that mask lives the shadow, the parts we hide, the desires we're ashamed to admit, and women have been taught to hide their shadows better than anyone. Why? Because for centuries, a woman who expressed raw desire was dangerous, improper, unladylike. So they learned to bury it, not to kill it, just to bury it deep enough that polite society wouldn't see. But that doesn't mean it disappeared. It's still there, waiting, hoping you're smart enough to recognize it without her having to spell it out. Here's what most men do. They ask, "What do you want? How can I please you? Should I do this or that?" And every question drains the mystery away. Every request for instruction proves you don't already know. And not knowing makes you safe, predictable, forgettable. Robert Greene wrote about the art of seduction. He said the greatest seducers in history never ask permission. They sensed, they observed, they moved when the moment was right, not through force, through understanding. They spoke the language of desire fluently, and women responded because finally, someone understood without needing a translator. Today, I'm giving you 6 things, 6 psychological truths about female desire that hide in plain sight. These aren't tricks. They're not manipulation tactics. They're translations of the silent language women speak when they want something but can't say it. And if you learn this language, everything changes. But let me be clear about something first. This knowledge carries weight. Jung believed that consciousness brings responsibility. Once you see these patterns, you can't unsee them, and you have a choice. Use them to connect deeply and authentically, or use them selfishly and cause harm. The difference between seduction and manipulation is intent. Remember that I watched something happen once. A man walked into a room full of people. Nothing special about him. Average height, average looks, normal job. But every woman in that room felt him enter. Not because he announced himself, because he moved through the space like he belonged there, like the room was lucky to have him, not the other way around. And within an hour, 3 different women found reasons to talk to him. His friend, more attractive by conventional standards, stood in the corner all night, wondering what he was missing. The answer. He was trying to be wanted. The other man simply was wanted. He understood something his friend didn't. Desire isn't logical. It's psychological. And psychology has rules. Freud talked about the unconscious mind, the part of us that drives our choices without our awareness. He said we think we're rational beings who occasionally feel emotion, but really, we're emotional beings who occasionally think rationally, and attraction lives almost entirely in the emotional, unconscious realm. This means when a woman says she wants a nice guy who communicates well and respects her boundaries, she's telling the truth. Her conscious mind genuinely believes that, but her unconscious mind, the part that actually generates attraction, responds to something else entirely. Not disrespect, not cruelty, but a specific kind of psychological tension that nice guys rarely create. That tension is what we're exploring today. The 6 elements that build it, and why women crave these things but would rather die than admit it out loud. Because admitting it would make them feel exposed, vulnerable, like they're asking you to dominate them when what they actually want is more subtle and complex. Nietzsche said we must have chaos within us to give birth to a dancing star. Women live in that chaos daily. Society tells them to be strong but not threatening, sexual but not slutty, confident but not arrogant. They navigate impossible contradictions. And deep down, they want a man who understands those contradictions, who can hold space for both sides of them without judgment. The 6 things I'm about to share exist in that contradictory space. They seem wrong at first. They go against everything modern dating advice teaches, but they work not because they're manipulative, because they're true. And truth, as Jung reminded us, is the foundation of everything meaningful. Here's what we'll cover. First, the principle of assumed intimacy, how speaking to her like you're already close creates closeness. Second, the power of comfortable silence, why saying nothing often says everything. Third, the push-pull dynamic, how creating space makes her chase it. Fourth, the social value mirror, why your life outside of her matters inside your relationship with her. Fifth, the physical certainty principle, how your body speaks louder than your words. And sixth, the calculated reveal, when vulnerability becomes magnetic instead of weak, each one builds on the last. By the end, you'll see female desire completely differently, not as a mystery, as a language. And once you speak it fluently, you'll never struggle with attraction again. This is the woman's rule book. Let's begin. The first thing she secretly wants is this. She wants you to speak to her like you already know her. Like intimacy isn't something you're building toward. It's something that already exists between you. Most men approach women like strangers because technically they are strangers. They use polite distance, safe topics, surface level questions. Where are you from? What do you do? Do you come here often? And every safe question reinforces the distance between you. You stay strangers because you keep treating each other like strangers. But here's what changes everything. When you speak to someone as if you're already close, closeness appears, not through deception, through assumption. You assume comfort. You assume familiarity. You assume she's already someone who matters to you. And assumptions shape reality faster than facts ever could. Carl Jung called this active imagination. The mind doesn't always distinguish between what is and what we treat as if it is. When you speak to her with assumed intimacy, her unconscious mind starts to believe the intimacy is real because you're acting like it's real. And humans are wired to match the energy they receive. Let me show you the difference. Safe approach. Hi, I'm John. I don't think we've met before. What's your name? There's nothing wrong with this. It's polite, respectful, and completely forgettable. Every interaction she's had today started exactly this way. Now watch this. You make eye contact. You smile slightly, not a big eager smile, a knowing smile, like you recognize something in her. Then you say, "You look like trouble." Pause. The good kind. What just happened? You didn't ask her name. You didn't introduce yourself. You spoke to her like you already have a dynamic, like there's already something between you. Playful, slightly challenging, familiar. She has to catch up to the intimacy you've assumed. And catching up makes her invest immediately. Robert Greene wrote that seduction begins with removing distance, not physical distance, psychological distance, the formal barriers people hide behind. When you assume intimacy, you dissolve those barriers instantly. She can rebuild them if she wants, but you've already shown her what's possible without them. Here's another example. You're texting back and forth. She mentions she had a stressful day at work. Most men respond with, "Oh no, that's terrible. What happened?" Again, nothing wrong with this. It's caring, supportive, and it maintains distance. Try this instead. You need a drink and someone to complain to. "I'm free Thursday." You didn't ask if she wants to meet. You didn't request permission. You stated what she needs and offered yourself as the solution. You assumed the right to make this observation. You assumed she'd want your company. These assumptions create reality. Machiavelli understood that people respond to certainty. They follow leaders who act certain even when outcomes are uncertain. The same principle applies to intimacy. When you act certain that connection already exists, people feel that certainty and respond to it. Now here's the warning. Assumed intimacy only works when your energy matches your words. If you say intimate things but your body language screams nervousness, the contradiction destroys everything. She'll feel you're performing rather than being, and performance always rings false. Your tone has to be relaxed. Your body has to be open. Your eye contact has to be steady. You have to genuinely feel like you're talking to someone you already know. Not pretend. Actually feel it, because she's reading your energy more than your words. Jung said authenticity is the alignment between inner and outer self. When your inner state matches your outer expression, people trust you instantly. When there's misalignment, they feel something's wrong even if they can't name it. So before you speak with assumed intimacy, you must feel intimate, connected, like she's already someone who belongs in your world. Practice this. Not on women you want to impress, on everyone. The barista, the stranger on the elevator. Speak to them like they're already familiar. Watch how their energy shifts, how they relax, how conversation flows differently when you remove the stranger barrier from the start. Now let's move to the second thing she craves but won't request. She wants you to be comfortable with silence, not awkward, quiet, comfortable silence, the kind that says you're so secure in yourself that filling empty space isn't urgent, that her presence is enough without constant entertainment. Most men fear silence like death. A conversation pauses and panic sets in. Must say something, must keep her engaged, must prove I'm interesting. So they fill every gap with words, questions, stories, jokes, anything to avoid the quiet. But here's what she experiences: his fear, his need for validation, his inability to simply exist without performing. And that inability makes her responsible for his comfort. She has to keep responding, keep engaging, keep giving him the reassurance he's seeking. It's exhausting. Arthur Schopenhauer wrote that talent hits a target no one else can hit. Genius hits a target no one else can see. Most men aim for the obvious target. Keep talking, keep entertaining, maintain her interest, but the real target is different. Be so comfortable in your own presence that silence becomes natural. When you can sit across from her and let 5 seconds pass without speaking, something shifts. The silence creates space, and in that space, she notices things, how you look at her, how you hold yourself, the small smile that crosses your face when you're thinking. The silence lets her feel the moment instead of just hearing it. Let me give you a scene. You're having dinner. You've been talking steadily. She finishes a story. Most men would immediately respond with their own story or ask another question. The conversation engine must keep running. You do something different. You hold her gaze. You take a slow breath. You let 3 full seconds pass. Then you say, "You're interesting." And you say nothing else. You let that statement hang in the air. Let her receive it fully. Let the silence amplify its weight. She'll feel that silence in her chest, not as awkwardness, as intensity, as the feeling that something real is happening between you, because in a world of endless noise and constant stimulation, silence feels rare, valuable, intimate. Epictetus taught that we have power over our minds, not outside events. When you're comfortable with silence, you prove you have power over your own mind. You don't need her constant validation. You don't need the conversation to fill your internal emptiness. You're complete already, and completion is magnetic. Here's the practice. Next time you're talking with her and there's a natural pause, don't fill it. Let it exist. Count to 3 in your head. Then speak. Those 3 seconds will feel like forever at first, but they teach you something crucial. Silence isn't the enemy. Fear of silence is, Jordan Peterson talks about bearing your suffering consciously. The discomfort of silence is tiny suffering. When you bear it consciously instead of frantically escaping it, you build psychological strength, and she feels that strength. But there's more to silence than just not speaking. It's about what you do in the quiet. Most men, when silent, look away, check their phone, fidget. Their body betrays their discomfort. You must do the opposite. Stay present. Keep soft eye contact. Let your face show you're thinking, considering, noticing her. Your body language in silence speaks volumes. It says, "I'm here, fully. I don't need distraction. You're enough." Marcus Aurelius wrote that very little is needed to make a happy life. It's all within yourself, in your way of thinking. When you're comfortable with silence, you prove your happiness isn't dependent on constant stimulation, on her entertaining you, on avoiding any moment of stillness. You prove you're already whole, and wholeness attracts. Neediness repels. Every time you frantically fill silence, you advertise need. Every time you let silence exist comfortably, you advertise wholeness. She feels the difference instantly. One more element. Silence creates anticipation. When you pause before speaking, your words land heavier. They mean more because she had to wait for them. Human psychology values what requires patience more than what comes instantly. Freud observed that delayed gratification indicates psychological maturity. When you delay speaking, you show maturity. You show you can tolerate the tension of the pause, and that maturity makes everything you eventually say more impactful. So practice both assumed intimacy that dissolves distance and comfortable silence that builds depth. These two work together. The intimacy creates connection. The silence creates space within that connection for a real feeling to emerge. Most men do the opposite. They maintain distance through politeness, then fill that distance with nervous chatter. They never create closeness, and they never create depth. They stay on the surface forever. You're going to do something different. Speak like you're already close. Then let silence prove you're comfortable being close. These two psychological principles transform how she experiences you, not as another man trying to impress her, as someone who already understands her. The third thing she wants, but will never admit, she wants you to pull away sometimes, not disappear, not ghost her, but create deliberate space that makes her wonder, makes her reach, makes her realize she wants you more than she thought. This sounds cruel. It isn't. It's psychology. And the psychology is simple. Humans value what they have to work for. We chase what moves away. We ignore what's always available. This isn't shallow. It's how our brains are wired for survival. Carl Jung wrote about the tension of opposites. He said growth happens in the space between opposing forces. Too much closeness and relationships suffocate. Too much distance and they dissolve. But the right rhythm between closeness and distance creates something powerful. It creates longing. Most men make one fatal mistake. Once they like a woman, they become constant, always available, always responsive, always there. They text back immediately. They're free whenever she wants to meet. They prioritize her above everything else in their life, and they think this shows how much they care. But here's what actually happens. She stops wondering about you. She stops thinking about you when you're not there. Because you're always there, she never gets the chance to miss you, and missing someone is where desire grows. Robert Greene called this the law of scarcity. What's rare becomes valuable. What's abundant becomes ordinary. When you're always available, you become ordinary. When you sometimes pull back, you become rare. And rarity triggers something primal in human psychology. Let me show you how this works. You've been texting consistently, good morning messages, updates throughout the day, constant contact. Then one day, you don't text. Not as punishment, not to play games. You genuinely have something else going on, a project, friends, something that occupies your attention. She notices. She checks her phone. Nothing. She wonders if something's wrong. She thinks about texting first, but hesitates. By evening, you retaking up more space in her mind than you did during all those days of constant contact. Why? Because now there's uncertainty, and uncertainty activates the brain's attention systems. Nietzsche said that which does not kill us makes us stronger. A little uncertainty doesn't kill attraction, it strengthens it. The wondering, the questioning, the slight anxiety about whether you're still interested, these feelings make her invest emotionally. An emotional investment creates attachment. But here's the critical part. When you do reach back out, you must be warm, present, engaged. The pullback creates tension. The return releases it. Both parts matter. If you pull back and stay cold when you return, you're just being distant. That kills attraction. But pull back, then return with warmth, and you create a rhythm she becomes addicted to. Think about it like breathing. Breathe in, breathe out. The inhale creates space. The exhale fills it. Both are necessary. If you only breathe in, you suffocate. If you only breathe out, you collapse. Relationships need the same rhythm. Come close. Step back. Come close again. The movement creates life. Machiavelli understood that people fear loss more than they value gain. When you're constantly present, she gains nothing. She already has you, but when you occasionally pull back, she fears losing you. And that fear makes her recognize your value, makes her act to secure what she's afraid of losing. I'm not telling you to manipulate her emotions. I'm telling you to have a life, a real life that sometimes takes your focus away from her. Projects that matter. Friends who need you. Interests that absorb you. When these things genuinely pull your attention, the space you create is authentic. An authentic space is healthy. The problem isn't creating space. The problem is when men are always available because they have nothing else, no mission, no purpose, no life outside of pursuing her. That's not attractive. That's concerning because it means she's become responsible for your entire emotional world. Jordan Peterson talks about finding meaning beyond relationship, about having a purpose that gives your life structure. When you have that purpose, pulling back isn't a strategy. It's natural. You're not playing hard to get. You're actually busy becoming someone worth getting. Here's the practice. Look at your life right now. If she disappeared tomorrow, what would remain? What do you care about? What drives you? If the answer is mostly her, you have work to do. Build something else, not to manipulate her. To save yourself from the desperation of having nothing else. Because here's the truth. Women feel when they're your only source of meaning, and it terrifies them, the weight of being someone's entire world is crushing. They want to be part of your world, an important part, but not the whole thing. Epictetus taught that we should focus on what we can control. You can't control whether she misses you, but you can control whether you have a life worth living independent of her. Build that life. The space it creates will do more for attraction than any technique ever could. Now let's move to the fourth thing, something even more uncomfortable to discuss. She wants to see that other women value you, not in a way that threatens her, in a way that confirms she made the right choice. That you're not just valuable to her, you're valuable, period. This triggers something deep. Psychologists call it social proof. We determine value partly by observing how others value something. A restaurant with a line outside seems better than an empty one. A man other women notice seems more attractive than one they ignore. Carl Jung wrote about the collective unconscious, the shared psychological patterns humans inherit. One of those patterns is mate selection based on social consensus. If the tribe values something, it's probably valuable. This isn't shallow. For our ancestors, it was survival. And the instinct remains. Here's what this doesn't mean. It doesn't mean flirting with other women in front of her. It doesn't mean making her jealous deliberately. It doesn't mean collecting female attention like trophies. Those behaviors signal insecurity. They show you need validation from multiple sources because you don't believe in your own value. What it does mean is this: have genuine friendships with women. Be the kind of man women want to talk to, laugh with, be around, not sexually, socially. When she sees that women naturally gravitate toward your energy, something in her relaxes. She thinks, other women see what I see. I'm not crazy for being attracted to him. Robert Greene wrote that your reputation precedes you. If you're known as someone people enjoy, someone women respect and appreciate, that reputation affects how new women see you. They start with positive assumptions. They give you the benefit of the doubt. They're primed to see your good qualities. But this only works if it's real. You cannot fake having a rich social life. You cannot pretend women enjoy your company. Either they do or they don't. And whether they do comes down to something simple. Are you genuinely interesting? Do you listen? Do you make people feel good when they're around you? Plato talked about the forms, the ideal versions of things that exist beyond their physical manifestations. The ideal man isn't universally attractive because of his looks. He's attractive because of his presence, his energy, the way he makes people feel. When you cultivate that presence, social value follows naturally. Here's a scene. You're at a gathering with her. A woman, walks by. She lights up when she sees you. She gives you a genuine hug. She asks how you've been. You talk for a minute. It's warm but clearly platonic. Then she leaves. Your date watches this. She doesn't feel threatened. She feels reassured because that interaction showed her something important. You're not desperate for female attention. You already have it. Women feel comfortable around you, trust you, enjoy you. And if other women feel this way, her attraction isn't some weird anomaly. It's justified. Hobbes wrote that value is determined by the market. In the market of social relationships, your value is determined by how others treat you. When she sees that you're treated well, that people seek you out, that women smile when you enter a room, your value rises in her eyes. But here's the mistake men make. They try to create this artificially. They talk about all their female friends. They mention women who are interested in them. They display their options like a peacock's feathers, and it backfires because talking about your value proves you doubt it. Real social value is quiet. It just is. The woman who hugged you didn't need introduction or explanation. She exists in your life naturally. That natural existence is what creates the effect, not the performance of it. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the best revenge is to not be like your enemy. In this context, the enemy is insecurity. Insecurity performs and advertises and proves security simply exists. When you're genuinely secure in your social value, you don't mention it. You live it. And she sees it in how the world responds to you. Here's what you need to do. Stop treating every woman as a potential romantic partner. Build actual friendships. Be valuable to people without needing something back. Develop the kind of character that makes people want you around, not for what you can do for them, for who you are. This takes time. It requires becoming genuinely interesting, having thoughts worth hearing, stories worth telling, perspectives worth considering. You can't shortcut this, but once you have it, the social proof becomes automatic. Women see other women value you, and their own attraction intensifies. Albert Ellis taught that our beliefs create our emotional reality. If she believes you're uniquely valuable, she feels fortunate to have you. If she believes you're one option among many desperate men, she feels burdened. The evidence that shapes her belief comes from watching how others treat you. So give her the evidence, not through manipulation, through reality. Build a life where you're genuinely valued, where women and men both enjoy your presence, where your absence is noticed, where you contribute something meaningful to the people around you. When she sees this, something shifts. You stop being the man hoping she'll choose you. You become the man she's trying to keep. And that shift changes everything about how the relationship develops. The fifth thing she craves but will never voice. She wants your body to tell her who you are before your mouth does. She wants to feel your presence physically, not through touch necessarily, through the way you occupy space, the way you move, the way you exist in your own skin. Most men don't realize their body betrays them constantly. They say confident words with nervous bodies. They claim strength while their posture screams uncertainty. They try to appear calm while fidgeting reveals their anxiety, and women read this. Not consciously, always, but they feel it. Carl Jung believed the body expresses what the mind tries to hide. Your unconscious leaks through your physical form. The way you stand, how you hold your shoulders, whether your gestures are contained or scattered, all of it tells a story about your internal state, and that story matters more than anything you say. Here's the difference. Uncertain man walks into a room. His shoulders curve slightly forward. His steps are quick, almost apologetic. He finds a corner or a wall to lean against. When he sits, he makes himself small. Legs crossed tight, arms close to his body. His eyes dart around, checking reactions, seeking approval. He's physically asking permission to exist in the space. Now watch this. Certain man enters the same room. His shoulders are back, not military stiff, just open. His walk is measured, not slow, not fast, deliberate. He moves through the center of the room because that's the natural path. When he sits, he takes the space he needs. His arms rest comfortably. His legs take their natural width. His eyes move slowly, taking in the room without seeking anything from it. He's not asking permission. He's simply there. Same room, same situation, completely different effect. The first man disappears into the background. The second man becomes a reference point. People orient toward him without knowing why. Women notice him even if he never says a word. Arthur Schopenhauer wrote that the world is my representation. How you represent yourself physically shapes how others experience you. And most men represent themselves as apologetic, as if their presence is an imposition, as if they're sorry for taking up space. But here's what women want. They want you to take space like you own it, not aggressively, not dominantly in a threatening way, but with the quiet certainty that you belong wherever you are, that the room is better because you're in it, that your physical presence adds value rather than subtracts it. Let me give you specifics. When you stand, plant your feet shoulder width apart. Feel your weight distributed evenly. Don't rock, don't shift. Stand like a tree. Rooted. When you sit, let your back touch the chair fully. Don't perch on the edge like you might need to escape. Settle in. When you gesture, make full movements. Don't abbreviate them nervously halfway through. Robert Greene observed that power must look effortless to be truly effective. When your physical presence looks effortless, when you seem comfortable in your body without trying, that comfort communicates power. Not power over her. Power within yourself. And self-power is magnetic. Practice this in private first. Stand in front of a mirror. Watch yourself. Are you making yourself small? Correct it. Walk across the room. Is your movement confident or apologetic? Adjust. Sit in a chair. Are you taking the space or minimizing yourself? Choose differently. This isn't about being bigger or more intimidating. It's about being unapologetic, about existing fully. Most men have been taught to minimize themselves, to not take up too much space, to be modest and humble physically. But modesty in your body reads as weakness, and weakness doesn't generate attraction. Jordan Peterson talks about standing up straight with your shoulders back. He's not just talking about posture. He's talking about the psychological stance that posture represents. You're claiming your right to exist, your right to take up space, your right to be seen and heard and valued. When she watches you move through the world with this physical certainty, something in her responds. She feels safer, protected, like you could handle whatever comes, because a man who can't even handle his own body can't handle pressure, can't handle challenges, can't handle her. Now here's the sixth and final thing, the most dangerous to discuss. She wants to see you vulnerable, but only after you've proven you're strong. Only after you've demonstrated you can handle pressure without breaking. Only when the vulnerability is a gift you choose to give, not a weakness you can't help showing. This is where most men fail completely. They're vulnerable too early. They share their fears and insecurities and wounds in the first few conversations. They think openness creates connection. And it does, but not the kind of connection that generates attraction. It creates the connection between a therapist and patient, between a mother and child, not between lovers. Nietzsche wrote about the overman, the person who has overcome their weaknesses not by denying them, but by integrating them. The vulnerability women want to see is integrated vulnerability, weakness that's been processed, pain that's been understood, fears that you've learned to carry. Here's the sequence that works. First, you demonstrate strength. You handle her emotions without getting overwhelmed. You face challenges without falling apart. You maintain your center when things get difficult. This takes time. Weeks, maybe months. But during this time, you're building a foundation. She's learning she can trust you. Not trust that you'll never hurt her. Trust that you're solid, that you won't collapse under pressure, that you have your own center of gravity. This trust is essential. Without it, your vulnerability later will just seem like weakness. Then, when that foundation exists, you offer a window. Not the whole house, a window. You share something real, a genuine fear, an actual wound, a moment where you weren't strong and you're not proud of it, but you share it from a place of ownership. You're not asking her to fix you. You're letting her see you. Carl Jung called this integrating the shadow, bringing what's hidden into light. But the key is timing. Show the shadow too early and you just seem broken. Show it after proving you're whole and it makes you human. More real, more trustworthy, because only secure people can afford to show their cracks. Let me show you what this looks like. You've been together 6 months. Things are solid. She's seen you handle stress, handle conflict, handle life. One night, something comes up, a memory, a moment from your past that still affects you. Maybe about your father. Maybe about a failure that taught you something hard. You don't hide it. You don't perform strength. You say, "Can I tell you something I don't usually talk about?" And you share it simply, honestly, without drama. You explain what happened, how it affected you, what you learned, how you're different now because of it. She listens, and something shifts in how she sees you. You're not the invulnerable man anymore. You're a real person who's been through things, who's overcome things, who's still carrying some things, and that reality makes everything between you deeper. Freud understood that we're all walking wounded. Everyone carries trauma. The question isn't whether you have wounds. It's whether you've learned to carry them with dignity. Shared vulnerability from a place of strength says, "I trust you with this part of me." And trust builds intimacy nothing else can. But here's the warning. If you share vulnerability and she uses it against you later, if she throws your pain back in your face during a fight, if she loses respect for you after seeing your wounds, she wasn't the right person. Real women don't punish vulnerability. They honor it. They protect it. They recognize the gift it is. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the impediment to action advances Zach. What stands in the way becomes the way. Your wounds, your fears, your moments of weakness, these aren't obstacles to attraction. When shared properly, they become bridges to deeper connection. But only when the timing is right. So here's your practice. Don't hide your humanity, but don't lead with it either. Prove your strength first. Show her you can be her rock. Then, when that's established, let her see that even rocks have cracks, and those cracks are where the light gets in. These 6 principles work together. Assumed intimacy dissolves distance. Comfortable silence creates depth. Strategic space builds desire. Social proof confirms value. Physical presence communicates power. Timed vulnerability creates trust. Master these and you'll speak the language of desire fluently. But remember what Jung taught. Consciousness brings responsibility. Now that you know these things, you choose how to use them to build real connection or to manipulate, to create intimacy or to fake it. The techniques are neutral. Your intent determines whether they heal or harm. Women aren't puzzles to solve. They're humans to understand. These 6 things aren't tricks to get what you want. They're translations to help you see what she wants but can't say. Use them wisely. Use them honestly. Use them to become the kind of man worth wanting. Because at the end of the day, the goal isn't just attracting her. It's becoming someone worthy of being attracted to, someone who understands desire, not as manipulation, but as communication, someone who speaks her language because you took time to learn it. This is the woman's rule. Now, you know what? She'll never say, The question is, will you be the man who finally understands without her having to subscribe? Because the next video goes deeper. We'll cover how she tests whether you're real or performing and what happens when you pass those tests. I'll see you there.